I'm Raphael Sparge. I'm also known as Caden Alenko. I'd like to introduce you, Kimberly Brooks.
Hello, hi, I'm Kimberly Brooks. I play Ashley Williams. Save Ashley, don't kill Ashley. Don't kill Ashley.
And Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Taylor. I play Jack.
Thank you so much for being here. We're grateful to be here. We're here to say just how thrilled and grateful we are to be part of such an amazing enterprise as Mass Effect. We're here to really introduce the Mass Effect development team. Without them, we're nothing. So here's for them. Thank you so much.
And also, here's to you guys, because without you, we would be nothing as well. So thank you.
Thanks so much for coming over. And thanks to all of you for attending our panel today. With me, my name is Chris Priestley. I'm part of the community team at BioWare. With me today, I have members of the Mass Effect and community team with me. I'll introduce all of them, and I'm going to turn it over to them because you don't want to hear me talk. You want the cool Mass Effect stuff. So with me, I have Mr. Mike Gamble, our producer, Mr. Parrish Lay. Parrish Lay, he's our lead animator. Mr. Corey Gasper, our senior combat designer. Ms. Sylvia Feticuti, yeah, I know I messed that up. She's a writer with BioWare. She has written Samara and Liara, amongst other things. Mr. Chris Hepler, also a writer with BioWare, writer of things such as Thane, Edie, the Galaxy Map, the Alliance News Network tweets, all kinds of good stuff like that. And our BioWare community manager, the lovely Jessica Marizin, dressed as Ashley Williams. So we've got a bit of a presentation for you. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Gamble. When the team has done our presentation, we will be taking fan questions. Should we not get to your fan questions today, after the panel is over, we are over in the Hilton Gas Lamp at the BioWare base. We're open tonight from 7 to 9 and tomorrow 11 to 5. So if we don't answer all your questions here today, please come and see us. We'd love to talk to you. But I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Hey everyone. So, what an interesting 3 months it has been. As much as you might not think it, we've been overjoyed at BioWare for the opportunity to work on the extended cut and all the other DLC that we've been doing over the last 3 months and previous to that. First, it's a testament to how much the dev team wants to put into their lives, their souls, their passions, and extend that out and make it live a lot longer than just March 6th, the ship date. But it's also a testament to how much we like you guys, and we think that it's important that what you've said matters. And I genuinely hope that most of you have played the extended cut, most of you have played multiplayer, and that you understand and like what we've done. Today we're just going to do a couple of things. We're going to talk a little bit about the extended cut, some of the mentality behind it, but we're also going to go through a little bit our Earth multiplayer DLC, which is coming out next week. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the characters from the writing perspective, what it was like to do that. So, and at the very, very end, we have something to leave you with, and you guys will be able to discuss it later. So, Chris did all the introductions, but I think in terms of who worked on what, on the panel, it was primarily of the people up here. Parrish and I worked on the extended cut. Corey worked on a lot of the multiplayer DLC, all of the multiplayer DLC, as well as the combat within Mass Effect 2 and 3. Sylvia and Chris, both writers for Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect 2 DLC, Chris Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2. So all of us up here are genuinely involved in the things that we've been doing. So to start off, talking about the extended cut, we kind of wanted to juxtapose a little bit what the original ending meant against the extended cut. And this is what we used as a flowchart or a logic diagram for the original ending. You can see a certain amount of variability within things, you know, and at a high level, this is kind of what it is. By comparison, so the extended cut, and we've made an effort to before we actually put anything down in terms of scenes, animation, to flowchart the entire thing. So what I'm going to do is ask Parrish to kind of go through a little bit of this with you to give you an insight in terms of, you know, how we built what we built, and you know, and then you can ask some questions later on when we do a Q&A period. So, Parrish.
Great. Yeah, I kind of see that. So, yeah, what happened was around mid-March to late March, we got the green light on doing the extended cut, and that was really exciting for us because we had a lot of notes that we had already made, you know, on the back of napkins and beer coasters and that sort of thing. So we kind of gathered up all those notes and ideas that we had, and we correlated that against a lot of the fan feedback that we were getting from the forums and social media and YouTube and all of that stuff. And basically, you know, myself, Casey Hudson, the executive producer, Mac Walters, the lead writer, then two senior writers, John Dunbrow and Patrick Weeks, along with Mike Gamble, we basically sat in a room and just kind of hashed it out. And we got it down to a level of granularity, which you kind of see on that big flow chart, where we were kind of comfortable with it. We knew that we could fit it under the 2 gig limit for the DLC, and it kind of it achieved what we wanted to do with it. And you know, as you can see, it's pretty complicated. The logic itself was handled by a designer named Chris Schonenberg, and honestly, I don't know how she kept it all together because it is super complicated. It's not only toggling your EMS rating, but it's also toggling your Paragon Renegade, who lives, who dies, who's your love interest. It toggles, you know, obviously your major choice at the end, and then also the choices that happened earlier with the Geth Quarian campaign or the Genophage. So what you have is all of these different plots kind of coming together in an axis of, well, you know, these things are all shifting around, and it became quite complicated. But again, Chris was, you know, again, a tribute to her, but she was able to keep it under control. I just wanted to focus specifically on probably the part that is, you know, the meatiest, I guess you could say, and that is the epilogue sequence. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through what we wanted to do with it, which was kind of project your unique Mass Effect galaxy, you know, kind of 200, 300, 400 years into the future, and what does that mean for your characters and you know, for all the races that you kind of come to love. So we asked the question, you know, after the detonation of the device, what does the galaxy look like within the next couple of days to a week? You know, what happens? So in the synthesis version, you know, we have kind of Coates and rebuilding London, you know, they're burying the dead, you know, you have the Reapers kind of in the background. There's a certain sense of maybe a tentative truce. While in, say, the destruction version, we have Hackett's ragtag fleet that he's kind of gathered together of survivors, and you know, their lights are kind of flickering and their engines are kind of sputtering, but you know, they've been able to kind of patch up their fleet with duct tape and hope, and they're kind of you know, going home. And those were kind of the key images that we wanted to hit on for the, you know, weeks, for the days to weeks. After that, we wanted to get into, well, what happens in the weeks to months after the detonation, maybe even to a year. And we wanted to tell that story using your Mass Effect 2 henchmen, the tertiary characters, and kind of develop their plots a little bit, or close them off, I guess you'd say. So, for example, with the Jack sequence, if she was alive in your playthrough, you know, we have 3 different variables. We have, was she your true love? Did you send the kids to the front lines? Did you keep them back? And those get toggled in. After that, we kind of went to years to decades, and this is probably my favorite section. You know, we kind of wrap up the Geth Quarian campaign, the Genophage, and outline how Rannick looks, you know, 10 years in the future, 15 years in the future, and what you know, Tachanka looks, you know, again, 10, 15 years in the future. For me, this was probably the coolest part. And I got to see kind of an image that I'd been hoping to do since I started on the project back on ME1. And that was the Krogan baby. So for me, not only as a developer, but also as a fan, in my personal playthrough, the Genophage campaign is really exciting to me. I identify a lot with the characters. And so, when I started to put this together, actually I didn't put this together, an animator named Ed Beek did. And when I went over to his desk to take a look at it, even in rough form, it was just kind of a bunch of kind of gray figures mashed together, and the kid was like a blob. It was actually really powerful for me because that's kind of 6 years worth of a story and development that I got to see. And even just looking at that little blob, I kind of knew that, yeah, that's gonna be a Krogan kid. And so I was really cool. And the little toddler, the little girl, this is hard to see, but the little girl in the back as well, that was added by Ed Beek, and it was just it was great. So the other fun part of this sequence is kind of the Easter eggs that we were able to put in. And it has a few sequences that not a lot of people have seen. For example, so this has the Rachni sequence or scene. And in this one, it's basically you'll get this if the genophage was false. If Reeve died and you saved the queen, you get to see kind of the Rachni move into Tachanka. So the idea is that the Krogans have died off, and the Tachanka kind of, or the Rachni kind of move into Tachanka like space hermit crabs or something. And they can kind of, the galaxy goes on, Tachanka goes on, new life. And for me, that was a pretty cool scene as well. After that, we went into sort of centuries, so projecting Mass Effect into the next 200, 300 years. And this was really fun for the artists because we got to envision what does Tachanka look like in 300 years rebuilt, or 400 years, a kind of this beautiful city. Likewise, what's the new crazy city kind of look like? So we got to do some really nice design work on that. But we always wanted to make sure that we tempered the epilogue with the idea of kind of loss and sacrifice and cost. So we have the death roll call after that, or we call it the sacrifice. So those are some of the henchmen that have died along the way, and the VO kind of threads it all together. And then that section rolls into what we called But For Now, which is really the memorial sequence. And because we always wanted to end the extended cut on the memorial sequence. We knew that really ultimately Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 is all about Shepard, it's all about his story, and at the end it's all about kind of saying goodbye to him. And this was the scene that all the animators wanted to be on. And the reason is because they got to personally put some of themselves into those characters. They got to really, because these guys have been, these animators have been working on this stuff. Again, we've been seeing Shepard's face and the henchmen every day for some of us 6, 7 years. And to get the finality of saying, your story with Shepard will end, was really impactful to them. So they wanted to project that or put that into those performances. And I think that's why the sequence works so successfully, is the talent of the animators in that performance. You get some really nice, subtle acting in that. You have James off on the side, and he's kind of a little more stoic, but you can kind of tell that it's still getting to him. Edie's off to the side, and she's kind of struggling with that. The love interest, obviously, it's hitting them really hard, or the friend, depending on your playthrough. And ultimately, for the cinematic animation team, the extended cut was honestly a labor of love for us. It was something that we were really excited about, and we're really happy that we got the opportunity to do it. So yeah. Well, if you've played it, I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks a lot.
How many of you have actually downloaded and played the extended cut? How many of you cried once during the extended cut? All right, you can admit it. Come on. Awesome. Yeah, so the intent obviously was to tug a little bit on the emotions, because of course, like Parrish said, most of us, we understand the fans have been living with these characters for 7 years, but so have we. Every day building them and trying to bring them to life. So it was just as much a goodbye for us as it was for the rest of you. And we're glad we were able to be part of it with you. Right, Jess? Mm-hmm. Don't you think so?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big things that leading up to this is my first job in the video game industry. Obviously you can tell that most people do not look like this. So, when I was getting into it, the biggest thing I was like, okay, we're doing all this marketing push, we're doing all these things to promote the game, and Chris and my job were like, we cannot wait for the game to come out so we can finally talk about how much fun it is with our fans, and how all these stories to tell, and when that didn't happen, it was really important for us to say, okay, well, this is still something that we're really passionate about. We worked, I don't even want to think about how many questions we fielded, how many times our Twitter feeds got shut down, but it was really important for us that, we kept that line of communication open, because this wasn't just, a one-way facing communication outwards and, then we go and close the doors. This has always been a dialogue, and it's always been important for us that this is a relationship that we have with our fans, because without the fans, we don't have anything. And the fans that are disappointed in us now are the same fans that were rallying for us when, there was the
Fox News
sex alien scandal. Those were the people who were, oh yeah. Those were the people who stood by us, and we recognize that a lot of those people are the people who were disappointed, and we knew that there was a lot to do, that we wanted to maintain that strong relationship. So we do really appreciate all the feedback. I got really good at Excel in the past few months, so thank you.
Cool. So I think that, we've talked a little bit about the extended cut. We can field questions more later, and if you want to pop by the BioWare base between now and the end of the con, we're all happy to talk. Just corner us and we'll say what we can.
Well, don't corner anyone. That's rude.
But I want to also talk a little bit about some of the multiplayer stuff that we've been doing as well. We announced Earth. It was probably, like I said, the worst kept secret of all time. We announced it last week officially, and it's coming out next Tuesday. And I want to show you the trailer. It hasn't been shown anywhere yet, so we thought that it would be a really good place to show it here. And then Mr. Corey Gasper is gonna talk a little bit about his experiences working on Mass Effect 2 and 3, and as well working with combat and gameplay on the DLCs.
The Reapers hit without warning. Earth took the brunt of the attack. A few of us remained behind to protect and defend. To keep what's left of Earth free. Or die trying. Today, each of you must become more than a soldier. And until the fleet's return, you are the last line of defense. The Earth is ours. And if they want it, they'll have to go through us to get it.
Before we move on, I do want to give a quick shout out to our video team who puts together all those awesome trailers. They're here filming us, which is very meta.
So, remember that it does come out next week, and it is free. And you know what? If you keep playing, we'll keep making it. It's that simple. So as part of that, you saw some of the, yeah, it's that simple. Well, it's not really that simple, but you know, we get it done. You saw some of the amazing new N7 operative kits in that trailer, you know, a couple of the new maps that we're showcasing. So Corey, how was it like making that?
It's awesome. Thank you all for coming out. So obviously, seeing that trailer, you can see that the gameplay in the Mass Effect franchise has evolved a lot over the series. And I was fortunate enough to come on to Mass Effect 2 at the beginning. And back then, it was me and 2 other designers, and we were known as the systems designers at that time. So we approached gameplay a little differently. It was much more statistics-driven from our approach. But after Mass Effect 1 came out, it was an amazing game, but we knew we had a lot of things that we wanted to improve. So we started focusing on the player experience. So when we talk about the player experience, we're referring to player control, progression, obviously, all the great RPG things we love. But how did Shepard feel when he moves around in combat? How do the weapons feel? How's the aiming, camera control, animation? It all became very important. So if we fast forward to Mass Effect 3, we now have a team of about 10 to 12 people, and we're now known as the gameplay team. And it's a really awesome place to work. We basically have a pit, and we're embedded with programming, animation, visual effects, and sound and audio design. And it's a really open sort of environment. We talk about ideas, we prototype really rapidly, and that kind of became the backbone for how we built this amazing gameplay. So when it came to actually designing the combat and gameplay for Mass Effect 3, I kind of broke things down into 3 sections that I'll go over with you guys. So we look at theme, which is very important, fantasy fulfillment, and character-driven gameplay. So theme we get from our amazing writers like Chris and Sylvia who come up. Thank you. Thank you.
Gun descriptions don't write themselves.
No, they don't. And that's really building on the rich universe of Mass Effect. I mean, when you look at Cerberus as a palette of enemies or their weapons or their vehicles, it's all a very cohesive feel. And we really worked hard on building in this really fantastic backstory and IP into Cerberus. So from a gameplay perspective, when you fight them, they feel very different than when you fight the Reaper faction, as many of you are familiar with. They feel a lot more tactical. They feel like they actually care about surviving, where the Reapers just want to crush you. And I think that's really cool. We also took that approach with the way we design their weapons. When you fire a Cerberus gun, it feels like you're shooting an iPad or an iPod. It's really high tech and flashy. But if we move over to the Krogans, their weapons are very brutal. It's like you're firing a power tool or a big chainsaw or something, right? So that's very important to us. And it's a good segue into fantasy fulfillment. And fantasy fulfillment, I mean, seeing images like this, there's a lot of it in the Mass Effect universe through the choices you make in the storyline. But it's things like the overcover grab, the Omni Blade, very cool things that Shepard can do in moment-to-moment gameplay. And you can say, hey, Sylvia, if you're sitting on the couch playing, isn't that cool? And she goes, yeah, that's awesome. That makes me want to get into Mass Effect and enjoy that experience. So it's very important to us. And the last piece I wanted to touch on was character-driven gameplay. And it's really cool because this actually came in late in development, and it was a result of the multiplayer feature that we added that I hope people like. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you. That's awesome, thank you very much. So originally, taking on the multiplayer feature was very ambitious, and it's something that we didn't take lightly. The gameplay team worked very closely with Montreal on the feature, and we wanted to do something that we were going to be proud of. The Mass Effect team, we put 110% into building things for our fans, because at the bottom of it, we are fans ourselves, and we want the game to be the best possible that we can deliver. So originally, early on, playing multiplayer, there was no plans to have any differentiated gameplay between the characters. So playing a Krogan or a Drell or an Asari would feel the exact same as playing Shepard. So we were running around playing an early build, using the Omni Blade, rolling, and it just didn't feel right. So we kind of took a step back and drew inspiration from a cinematic that Parrish's team did for Mass Effect 2, where you unleash the Grunt from cryosleep, which is a pretty amazing scene. He bursts out, slams Shepard against a wall, and he's a Krogan, and that's what we wanted to play as. So in order to not scope creep, which gameplay has a habit of doing, I'm sorry, Mike, we tend to bloat things and overdo it, we started stripping things away from the Krogan. So we said, okay, you know what? No, he can't roll. Let's bump up his shields, his health. Let's make him tougher. He should be a tank. And our team really rallied around that, which is fantastic. So the sound design team got us the vocalizations, the wicked Krogan roar when you charge, the headbutts, all the great things that make you feel like you're playing the Krogan, which is awesome. Then we moved on to the Drell and the Asari, and it, to me, it really kind of formed the backbone of what made the multiplayer feature so successful, and why, to me, the Mass Effect franchise is so amazing, is because when you talk to the developers or people who've worked on the game, there's all these stories of people going above and beyond and putting that 110% and doing things that wasn't expected before. And I think that's why we have so many passionate fans that we've met here, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Keep playing the game. We'll keep making really cool stuff like this. Thank you.
And so, gameplay, combat, multiplayer, it's all a fundamental part of what makes our game great. And like Corey touched on, there's always kind of a narrative thread that we like to tie through everything that we do. And part of that is the amazing team of writers that we have, led by Mac Walters, Patrick, Jay, John, Sylvia, Chris. Everyone on our team right now takes things very seriously, and they again put all their effort into creating these amazing narratives that makes our game what it is. And so Sylvia, sitting there, has been writing Liara for ME3, and she wrote Samara for ME3 as well. And Chris, he's been with us from ME1 days, and he's written a lot of the in-fiction stuff that you've seen throughout, all the IP3 stuff, everywhere from the Galaxy map to, the Alliance News Network tweets and things like that. He's also written Edie and Thane. So, Sylvia and Chris, give us a little bit of an insight into how it is writing those characters.
Well, I should probably start with that saying that he said Mike is very generous and says that I've been with Mass 1 since the beginning. The truth is, basically, I was on another project at the time, and crunch time hit, and they're like, okay, Chris, we need you to check out some codex entries. I checked out some codex entries. So I was like, okay, there's some science here that you could actually do. And they actually took the feedback and started, taking the science seriously. And I was like, wow, this is kind of unusual in video games.
If you ever question the science behind Mass Effect, you go to Chris, and Chris will give you a treatise of reasons why it would work.
Yeah, we try. We don't always succeed, but we try. And so I did some of that, and they dragged me on to do a whole lot of playtesting for Mass 3, or for Mass 1, excuse me. And then I went to work on the Old Republic for a little while. And they said, Chris, don't put any science in. We don't want midichlorians and stuff like that. So stop putting that in your plots and just do some silver quests in Terrace, and I'll be okay. And so I did some quests in Terrace and Balmora and stuff like that. And then they said, Chris, we need you back on Mass Effect. You did some codex entries. You helped out with the codex entries before. Now you're going to write some codex entries, and now you're going to write the galaxy map. So all that science, use it now, because you get to learn planetary formation science. So I'm like, okay, here we go. And then on Mass Effect 3, they finally let me out of the cage and said, Chris, you can write some followers. And which ones do you want? And I said, I want Edie, Thane, and Samara. I got Edie and Thane, Samara went to this lovely lady right here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's generally been my experience. If you ask me to describe it in a simple phrase, how is it to work at BioWare and work on Mass Effect 3? The phrase I use is "no candy for you until after you finish your Coke." Because if you told my 16-year-old self that I would be writing like gun descriptions for a science fiction role-playing game when I was in my 30s, let's not mention the exact age, that would have been one happy 16-year-old. Sylvia, you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah, my career isn't nearly as illustrious as Chris's yet. The first thing I worked on for BioWare was this DLC called Liara the Shadow Broker. I was... Thanks. I think they liked it. I was just one of 3 writers. I should mention that Jay Whitemaniak and Patrick Weeks were the other 2 people with, Max sort of supervising our shenanigans on that one. But my first real big project was Mass Effect 3, and it was both tremendously exciting and tremendously terrifying. And the terrifying part kind of comes in the fact that this room is completely full and there was a huge line outside. Just as I began to work on the project more and more, I saw how much it meant to people. And I'd always known intellectually it's a big property. People really like the universe and Shepard, but I'd be following like news articles and fan posts and just the general hubbub. And I realized just, wow, I better get this right. It was also tremendously exciting, not just because it was such a big thing, but also because I got to work with a lot of seasoned professionals. Even like in the writing, we have this room at Mass Effect we call affectionately, we've dubbed it the writer's pit. So they sort of corralled all of us off into one big room, and it was great being able to just chat with people about, just to turn around to Chris and say, hey, do you like this part I'm writing for Edie in this one level? Does that sound good? No, oh, I see. Oh dear.
There was one point where we, I don't know if you guys run into the section in which Edie says, yeah, I think Lara's become a more private person after becoming the Shadow Broker. And if you haven't actually played Shadow Broker, Shepard says, excuse me?
And Edie's all.
And Edie's like, oops, perhaps you two should talk. And then I turned around to Sylvia and said, I just wrote this. What do you think? Can we slip it into Liara's dialogue as well?
And then we did.
Yeah. So
it should be a variable
that's
there.
If you Easter egg it.
Oh yeah, and it's great for that. I mean, like, so I'm working with people there because there's people from a lot of diverse backgrounds, like just even the writers' room. Chris and a few other people are from Hollywood. We had some writers who are just really, they've been in the video game industry for a while. We have someone who's a playwright. We have people who've done novels. So it's great just being able to pick their brains, especially if you're newer. I'm living like 2.5 years at BioWare, and so I got to draw on that experience, which is really crucial at some times. One good example, this might be fun for people to know, was I wrote for a level, it was called the Geth Consensus. It's on. Oh, thank you again. You guys are just full of cheer. I love it. And it was a fun level, but it was also a very difficult one to bring to fruition. Our level artist and our level designer worked a lot on that one, especially because it was so different from anything else we'd done in the game. And the original pitch for that level, because as it stands now, it's this fantastic virtual world where you could look at memories from the distant past of Rannick. The original pitch phrase for that was Ancient Quarian Temple. So you see how far things can change. I mean, it was like a shipyard at some point with Geth. I don't know, but talking with people really helped me focus on what was cool about the core concept, which was learning a bit of the secret history of Rannick. You're like the first organic being to see it, possibly the only one who ever saw it, depending on your choice at the end of Rannick. But yeah, it was just great being able to just turn to people and say, so what's the best part of this level? And all our levels go through that process to one degree or another, that polish, that iteration. Chris, you had some interesting turn on Edie, I think.
Yeah, there was a point where writers always talk about, I hated this because I got my stuff cut, and I'm gonna go all Harlan Ellison. Oh, how dare they change my stuff? But in my case, being a much lesser writer than Harlan Ellison, I had a point where I came out with, I don't know if you guys talked to Edie right after the Cerberus base, where you asked her, it's like, so Edie, you doing okay? Because we went in there and we found out about your origin by checking out that console, and you aren't having any problems, are you? And he's like, no. And it's like, well, you don't have any lingering problems? Like, about what? And Shepard says, well, about any, flawed creator that might be interpreted as a flawed father figure or anything like that. And Edie says, definitely not. And shuts Shepard down. In the rough draft, we actually had Edie freak out about the elusive man and about a flawed father figure and how much she hates him and she's being illogical and stuff like that. And then I realized it got as far as voiceover, because Trisha Helfer, recorded it, and she's a good soldier, and goes with the lines we've given her and makes them sound real. And then I realized that my lines had made Trisha Helfer sound whiny. So I was like, oh my God, we need to cut this. And, about that same day, Mac Walters came in and says, Chris, I have terrible news. We need you to cut a full dialogue and make it ambient. And I kissed him, and, which is very awkward because both of us are married. And I'm kidding, of course. And in any case, so we cut it down, and now we basically turned it into a joke. And that's sort of our equivalent of the Harrison Ford shooting the swordsman in Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark sort of story. So like, yep, yeah, let's keep this light, we're done. So that's my Edie story.
So, Sylvia, what about Samara? Or
Samara?
Liara?
Liara,
Yeah.
Samara, pick, okay, hold on, I'll spin this. If it's this, it's Liara. If that's it. Okay, Liara it is. She was fun. There wasn't actually... There was some churn on her dialogues, but the beauty of writing Liara was she'd had 2 appearances in 2 other games, and some ancillary stuff like Lair the Shadow Broker in the comics, and it was a real joy to be able to pull from her past relationship with Shepard. You could be friends. You could just maybe not talk to her that much in the previous games. Heck, you could have been a love interest with her, and that was. It's really great to have that history because it brings a richness to the character and their interactions that, even if you don't reference it directly, is usually at the back of people's heads. And you don't always have that luxury when writing anything, essentially. I mean, some people may have known Liara for 5 years. That was really cool. One of the scenes that I think you can be particularly proud of, especially the people who did the cine design work for it, that's the people who kind of direct the scenes, is the best way I can phrase it. The time capsule scene with Liara, which I thought Ellie Hillis did an amazing job on, and Jennifer Hale and Mark Muir, they just really brought that in. That was the one scene I knew going to Mass Effect 3 I wanted, and had very little iteration just because, what was she in the past? You met her as an archaeologist on a dig. She became the shadow broker, obsessed with information, and it just made sense for a character to go that route. And Parrish, you guys did that beautiful scene in the extended cut where if you choose to reject the Reaper's offers, am I spoiling this for anyone? You're going to plug your ears.
Or if
All right,
you,
good.
if
Okay,
you
good.
accidentally shot the catalyst just by
No, wait,
accident.
whoa.
I don't think there's anything accidental about that.
Oh, no, that'd be me. I'd be like, I wonder if they can shoot him if it does anything. Oh. But you reject the Reaper's offers, the cycle continues, but your team brought that beautiful scene where you see a hologram of Liara and a little glyph in the background, and future generations of species have discovered her, and it's just this wonderful cyclical nod to discovering Vigil back on Ilos and ME1, like this. Somewhere in the back of my head, I always thought, it'd be cool if we got a scene like that, and then you made it happen, so. Yeah, it was just, that's the benefit of having a character who's been around for that long.
So, we want to give everyone an opportunity to talk about, or ask some questions.
Whoa, hey, guys, we are here later. Please careful.
Anybody pushing is going to be removed.
In about 20 minutes, so. I'm just kidding.
I didn't push you, right?
You okay?
I just tripped because I'm very clumsy.
Okay, if you're okay.
I'm sure a lot of you have questions about Thane, and want to ask Chris, what's up with Thane?
Yeah.
Please pop by the BioWare base and speak with him because he'd be glad to talk about it. We just want to give you guys enough time to actually ask some things here in the panel as well. So, all right, go ahead and ask a question.
Oh, and actually, I just want to say, if you could keep your questions, like, not multi-part questions.
Yeah, just get one question apiece.
We have the meet and
We'll
greet.
randomly pick one if you give a multi-part one, and we'll give an incomplete answer.
I just wanted to ask if you're ever going to make female Turians in any of the DLC or anything.
Okay.
I've been wondering about that for 3 games.
That's not the first time we've been asked that, and all I'm going to say is that we definitely listen to fan feedback. So.
My question is, are you giving free swag by the end of this? And also, which ending would you consider canon?
We have so much free swag that I'm kind of afraid. We have like lithographs, we have some art books, we have comics. We actually have an Xbox right
Can
there.
I take that?
We have an Xbox.
Can I
It's
have it,
gotten
please?
signed by everyone.
We'll be giving the Xbox away probably later at the BioWare event or at the what's it called, Jess?
So we have the meet and greet at Purgatory Lounge tonight from 7 to 9. And tomorrow we will be playing multiplayer, and I will be giving away all the swag because I don't want to take any of it home from 11 to 5.
As to your second, we'll answer this one just because it bugs me personally. We don't have a canon. We've actually gone we've gone out of our way not to declare a canon. You know, if your shepherd is a dude shep who romanced Tally, if you're a femme shep who romanced Caden, or or Liara or whoever, like if you save the Rachni, if you destroy the Krogan, like that's your shepherd, and we have never declared a canon, even when we had to trip around shepherd's gender and things like comics, which is incredibly hard. Just for you.
Yeah. If we had planned to do a canon ending, that would have saved us so much damn work. that whole chart just would have been like a straight line. It would have been beautiful, except we can't do that. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently we already know that we've been playing the Platinum over at the BioWare Lounge, and we almost beat Platinum just yesterday. But I know the multiplayer is going to be a main focus to continue the game, but would you guys actually consider bringing back, I guess, past battles? So are you fighting Vorcha or Krogan fighting against Rachni just as an expansion idea to keep it going in the future?
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, there's tons of really cool stuff that's happened in the Mass Effect universe. A lot of amazing backstory, a lot of amazing conflicts before the Reaper and Shepard conflict. You know, we look at our entire IP and we look at places where maybe we can tell stories. And that's about it, really. I mean, I can't really comment specifically on anything, but you know.
But if you guys keep playing, we'll keep making.
Yeah, there you go.
So I guess just put a pin in that.
Thank you so much for the extended cut. Thank you for giving me my last moment with Caden. Thank you so much. But what I really wanted to ask, and this may be an awkward question, but what's the deal with the kid? Why does Shepard see the kid throughout the entire game?
Originally, it's Shepard sees the kid because it's the one face on Earth that pretty much crystallizes all of the people on Earth that he can't save. She can't save.
English has no good neutral pronoun.
Yeah. When you finally get to the catalyst, the catalyst is essentially negotiating with you because its plan does not work anymore, and it takes a non-threatening form. And also because Shepard shaking his fist at Harbinger or Sovereign or another just Reaper hologram, stuff like that didn't seem incredibly appropriate. We wanted to mix it up and do it something a little new.
Yeah, like we'd had it 3 times before. Arrival, ME1,
Yeah,
ME2. It felt a little samey at that
yeah,
point.
and there's only so many times you can be told you're bacteria before you want to make a flag with bacteria on it and stick it in a Reaper husk somewhere. And very triumphant-looking bacteria.
And the whole dream sequence, like series of events, basically kind of galvanizes what Chris was saying about Shepard not being able to save the kid on Earth, and that crystallizing what the loss on Earth is. And we'll just set the record straight. The faint shadows that you're seeing throughout those dream sequences, those are meant to be kind of like representations of the people that he couldn't save. And they get progressively worse throughout the game because it just gets that much more intense.
Yeah, and you may not be able to always hear what exactly the whispers are saying and stuff like that, but those are actually our voice actors who various characters you couldn't save. Like if Ash died on Bormire, we have Ash's voice in a little whispery thing and stuff like that. So it's we actually went to the trouble of doing all that.
And I appreciate it. Thank you so
Okay, you're
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
My question will be very fast, and of all the million questions that could be asked, I'm going to ask something totally self-serving. How do I become one of you? I am so well gainfully employed, and I would put down my AT&T badge to push a broom around your office.
So we always have job openings at jobs.ea.com, or go to our BioWare website and check our career page. We also will, Mesa, one of our recruiters, she's on Twitter, go find her, and we'll always retweet when she's posting jobs on the main channels. But come here, come to conventions, network, build out your portfolio, and keep meeting people, and don't stop.
Thank you.
And what's a really quick practical tip, if you want to make games, mods and really easy to make game tools are a great way to get started because they're easy, there's a lot of them right now, and it's great to have that practical experience, especially if you team up with some people and work as a team.
Yeah, but if that's what you want to do, you go get it, man.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't stop.
I just want to say, I love the writing in Mass Effect. The dialogue is brilliant, and it's engaging. And to that end, I really love the Dark Horse comic books with Mac Walters engaged in that and everything. Yes. I know that we have miniseries like Invasion and Homeworlds right now. I was wondering if you guys were thinking of doing a sort of monthly series, but that doesn't cap off at like 6 or 4 or 3 and keeps going and going. And maybe we can get into the 50s or 100s and just extend the Mass Effect universe.
I think part of BioWare is always looking to expand our IPs and work with great partners like Dark Horse Comics, who are fabulous to work with. Certainly the possibility is open in the future. We have a lot of talented writers. Sylvia has written Homeworlds issue 4. The possibility of future comic books, more novels. There's an anime in the works with
Paragon Lost.
Paragon Lost.
Which she's going to have Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm so excited.
So lots of things in the works. That sort of thing is an idea, and it's certainly something we'd be interested in pursuing. We'll see what we come up with next.
Thank you.
We got 5 minutes, by the way, we've been told, so.
We've only got time for a couple more questions because we do have a little bit something to leave you with as well. So just a few more questions.
My question is, what's the motivation with the teaser survival of Shepard and the particular ending?
The teaser was sort of fun to add in because it is you need to get your military strength. You have to have your forces above a certain level, and the motivation was, I think we're looking at all the endings I remember, and then going, are these all too bleak? I mean, Shepard is dies or is transfigured or lost forever in a lot of them. And we said, you know what, for the fans who are really, who scraped every single last thing off the galaxy map and stuffed them in the Normandy's hold or however those get to you, we wanted to do a little beacon of hope for them to say, you know what, I see that N7 breastplate lifting. Who else wears an N7 breastplate? Oh, my Shepard does. And we didn't want to leave people without that. I think it was really hard to let go of Shepard in some sense for us too. So that was sort of fun for us to sneak in.
But
you're welcome.
One other thing, but also we did intentionally make that slightly vague so that it is kind of open to you projecting your own gameplay experience onto it. So we didn't want to again show exactly how he's potentially damaged or what he looks like. So it is meant to be a little ambiguous in that respect.
Yeah, it could be just a last gasp before death if you want to interpret it that way. But no, okay, I guess
maybe
yeah.
a giant piece of rebar could just eventually fall on him after that.
But
you don't know. I'm just a troll. I'm sorry.
A few of the characters in the crew I really gravitate toward, I really like a lot, like Zaid and Thane, have just got really cool personalities. And it seemed like you said, when you came time to pick a few characters that you wanted to write for, Chris in particular, you wanted to write for Thane and some of those characters. what drew you to those characters, and also what influences did you have on those characters? Like Thane obviously has like a Bushido Warriors Code thing kind of going on.
Well, I should clear up. I wrote Thane in Mass Effect 3, not 2. So a lot of Thane's character development. I'm just trying to do Thane justice in 3. I wanted to write Thane because I've been wanting to write about assassins for an extremely long time. I used to write for a paper and pencil role-playing game called Shadowrun. And I did a lot of research on criminals and ne'er-do-wells and people like that in future settings. And I've wanted to write about assassins for a long time. Edie, people said, dying is easy and comedy is hard, or at least actors say that when they're talking about being on stage. I found it some of the other way. I did want to do a comedic character. I thought Edie was funny. The revelation that she had a body and she was going to be sexy as well. And then I said, okay, well, if I make her smart on top of being sexy and funny, then she's basically perfect. So that was some of the thought process, which is perhaps not so sophisticated about it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm afraid that's actually I know you guys were there, and I'm really sorry. Like I said, if you have questions, this applies to everybody. Please come over and visit us at the BioWare base. We're on the second floor of the Hilton Gas Lamp.
The easiest way to get there is just go through the lobby, up the stairs, and you'll see the BioWare sign.
So
Hilton
we'd love to
Gas
see you
Lamp
over there.
Right across the street.
We do have a little something to show at the end, but we also have Mr. Raphael Sabarge would like to have one more moment with us. So Raphael, if you'd like to come back up.
This is amazing. It's amazing for me to hear all of this, not knowing all of what's gone into it. So incredible. Just simple, put it out there. Kimberly and Courtney and I are all going to be on a booth down at Holzheimer's. Let me give you the number. Excuse me, 3845, signing for a charity, Greenwish. If you want to come down, meet us, talk to us. If we haven't already met you, if you want to meet us again, we're there. We'd love to say hi.
Wait,
Thanks.
Raphael, when are you doing that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to be there. Thank you. Just details. We're going to be there at 6:15, so pretty much right after this. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And for the very last thing, Mike, if you want to...
Yeah, I mean, as you all leave, we'd like you to look at something on the screen and maybe speculate a little bit amongst yourselves in terms of what it might be. But I can tell you it's something to come in the future.
How interesting.
I wonder what that
I don't know, but you can speculate about it with me and Chris on Twitter. Actually, most of us are on Twitter. Most of us are reachable. Even if you don't talk to us this weekend, come talk to us online. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.